problem is you're missing all of my gold.
What?
I keep saying things inadvertently, and then we miss them, and then it's too late to try and capture it. Speaking of trying to capture, I have no clue where I am. Where did we get? Oh, right, we're about to go into this awful boss fight. Yay, that's a great place to start. This is what we get for being away for weeks.
Well, we say away for weeks. We did
all that other stuff. It'll look like a week for everyone else. But it was technically weeks in terms of playing this.
That's true.
I am so actually. They've given me a second chance here. I need to level up.
I remember you. Yeah, I was about to
say.
I remember you saying you were significantly low powered.
Oh, I had a weird flashback to the BioShock one where I was like, "Hang on, the controls are different." Then I was like, "Oh yes, this would be a different game." Oh wait, no, I don't want to go in there yet.
It automatically converted me to green thumb.
Yeah, because I remember having the conversation about I didn't remember in BioShock how to make the weapon go away. And
I think I may be in the minority with that because I actually prefer the green thumb control system.
I'm pretty sure because that's why it's not the default.
Well, sure, but I'm just saying, how many people actually choose the default simply because it's the default versus?
Well, that's probably. I tend to prefer to just get used to the default because every game's different.
Well,
sometimes they don't have the option to the exact ones you're familiar with.
I think the only game that I actually use green thumb in primarily is Halo.
Well, they were fairly consistent the whole time. Their default controls always changed, which was annoying. But I have one EMP grenade,
which makes you think. Wouldn't it be interesting if you could actually just map your own controller? You know what I mean?
Well, you can do that with most PC games, and if you get down that rabbit trail, you'll end up going...
PC Master Race!
You'll end up going, oh, I clicked this, oh, hang on, now that's bound to two different things, and I don't know what the other one is, because it won't tell me.
I actually was playing...
okay, hang on. Now, this is a question. Is this 2 boxes of 10 mil ammo, or is this just 2? Because that'll be a problem.
That will be a problem, I agree.
Okay, now... Ah! No, that was our only grenade! I'm going to have to reload that because we need that grenade. We're going to be fighting an augmented guy. I know that there's ammo in the boss fight, but that's a little frenzied for me.
PC Master Race. I actually did. I was playing a MMO. This was like a number of years ago, and I actually ended up coming across that exact problem, which is that I had mapped particular command to something that actually also brought up the actual raw code data right in front of. So it's like all the screen.
What keybind was that? Were you binding things to function 10?
I can't remember what it was, but it came up with all of the refresh rates and all that other stuff. I was going, okay, this is not what I wanted.
Oh boy, it was just 2. That sucks. I'm gonna need. Yeah, this is why I wanted to go back and check for ammo before I went into that fight, because elseways I get myself plastered. I don't mean with booze. There's no
booze.
There's no ammo in here. Is that your only story about that?
About booze? No, I promise you that.
I thought you brought up the MMO for a more in-depth reason.
You're talking about MMO? I enjoy MMO. I feel like you don't really have a lot of exposure to MMO, but
I suppose the only exposure too, that's not. Well, okay, it's an MMO, but it's not an MMORPG. Well, generally, when if I would have to go all the way back up.
Most people, when they think MMOs, they're thinking
World of Warcraft type,
right?
Which we played the Lord of the Rings thing, which is in the same vein, but it's not
similar. The only thing is, it's for console people. Is the caveat.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
We played it on PC. How could you get that on console?
Oh, you're talking about Lord of the Rings Online?
That would be the only MMO.
Well, the other, what is it called? War in the North plays like it. It plays like
it, but crucially, it is neither massive nor multiplayer nor online. Those would be the MMO words. It is, in fact, an RPG. I'll grant you that. I don't want to have to go all the way back up the elevator. And I know that there's ammo in the fight. That just means it's going to be a little bit tricky, but, we wanted the challenge.
I wonder what was solidified first in the gaming world. Whether it was the at the RPG, role play game, or whether it was the mass multiplayer concept. Because I feel like once
the internet didn't exist at the beginning.
Well, that's what I was going to say, but you still had like LAN, and even
it's not
you want to roll back even further.
It's not massive though.
Well, sure, but I'm just saying
that's why the massive is part of it, because it's not just a couple people.
It was certainly the grandfather of MMO, but LAN, you can't.
But I don't think that there weren't LAN RPG parties, because you could do
true.
that.
That's probably true.
Okay.
But
we're not
anyway.
we're not in great. I mean, the combat rifle is the most I have, and I don't have that much, so I'm gonna have it out first. Shotgun may come to help me. Can I skip this? We saw this last time, didn't we?
No, Lord of the Rings Online is a great game. I think we've actually
you
commented
say
on
that.
this.
It's a great idea for a game.
What do you have? I'm curious what your actual qualities are with it, because I don't think you've had enough exposure to it.
In all honesty, I think it's just that I'm probably not the kind of person who likes MMOs.
Well,
War in the North basically is good because it strips all the fun parts out of the MMO and gets rid of everything that was not fun. Because it's like, all the combat, all the loot getting, it's just one long dungeon crawl.
Yes.
Which is the reason people play RPGs. I mean, yes,
it's not for me. It's
fun to have the open world wander about, but you only ever do that when you're like, okay, we've been doing this dungeon and I could use a breather, and then you go back. In the noodle.
I suppose. Wow, man, he's taking that on the chin.
Well, that's why I said, this is not a good fight for us. So I hate that he always
see if he
goes
can take
the
it.
Ah, what?
Okay,
that
barely
was weird.
can.
That was an uncomfortable bit of.
The minute I even mentioned butt, he just looked you right in the eyeball.
Well, okay. He missed his opportunity to finish me off, so he's a. Oh. He was taunting me. He was giving me a false hope. So yeah, I think that's why I didn't like it, and I think it wasn't any fault of the game. I'm sure if you have something against World of Warcraft and like Lord of the Rings, that's probably the one people will go for. But I think World of Warcraft basically cornered the market 20 years ago.
That is true. However, I think that Lord of the Rings is unique in that it builds it around a already existing narrative, whereas World of Warcraft has been
World of Warcraft technically did, but it was just...
Yeah, but they were able to play fast and loose with a lot of their expansions.
Well, because they built it themselves. Well, Warcraft, sure. I don't even know what it was called. Was it just called Warcraft?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. I am not that generation of gamer. I was not alive, probably.
I was only barely alive, and I was not gaming.
Actually, no, games were pretty well solidified, but the internet wasn't a thing. So I guess, that sphere of gaming isn't as old as I think. The older spheres of gaming would have been the console
if you compare it by pace, then it is. I mean, the pace of gaming and its industry has been significantly...
Well, but the pace of all technology is sped up recently, so I don't think that they get to take the credit for that.
No, I'm saying credit. I'm saying you have to take that into account if you're actually dating it, is all I'm saying. Like if you're
it's not the earliest, is my point.
If you're suggesting
I was alive when World of Warcraft was released, although I probably was not cognizant of it.
Right. But by the time you were actually cognizant of it, it was probably way older a game in almost like
terribly old, but I mean
almost like a dog. Yeah, okay, why do I duck?
See, you're in the wrong controller sphere too.
I have to look at the controls before I play next.
Well, either that or no, you don't have the time to test them in game.
Well, I actually probably do because before I go through the door.
No, not anymore because we went through the door already.
Well, yeah.
You'll notice how when I start,
I
start. You just started when you started, didn't you?
No.
I didn't see you go through the door.
Yeah, I went through the door.
Oh, I thought it auto-saved after we went through the door.
So, anyway, not to get on a random...
I certainly don't have anything more to say into that topic.
I do enjoy...
Let's change the subject.
No, I do enjoy MMOs. I think...
That mosquito's doing a rave.
We've actually made this comment before, but this was before Disney went tits up.
Really? Was it though? Really?
It was.
I would argue the wheel spun for a long while after the hamster was dead.
That's maybe true because the hamster was moving so quick. But
it was a big hamster.
The Pirates game was actually decent.
It was not at all.
It was.
No, because here's the thing. It was fun to be a pirate and like, oh, you have a ship and you got to do these things, but it wasn't a decent game.
Well, the graphics were certainly not
it
good.
wasn't a decent game because it literally had a paywall where you went, once you get to this mission, the game ends unless you start paying.
True. I didn't like that.
It wasn't even like, oh, if you want to have the coolest stuff, you'll have to pay. It was full on, this is a main story quest that you will not do unless you pay.
Well, the way that...
And that is unexcusable. That's not... I mean, it's already a bit of a... It's already uncool to pull the whole,
EA.
Well, they're not the worst at this specific thing, but it's not cool to do the free-to-play, pay-to-win type thing.
Right.
But that was literally that. Like, that's usually used cynically. But... Because I think Lord of the Rings Online does something where it's like, yeah, if you want to play the game in really hard mode where you have to gain XP manually and you can earn the highest level stuff, but you have to do it.
It's just a real hard grind.
It's like you have to actually exchange XP for the real world currency and then change it back. But you could do it, and that's where I'm like, hey, if you're dedicated enough to not spend the money,
right,
you could finish the game. Whereas this was literally like, oh, thanks for playing the prologue. Now... jolly well bugger off if you ain't got cash.
It was a good concept, but I agree with you. It was a paywall, which is
and that I'm pretty sure... I don't know when that came out. The graphics certainly weren't good.
No, they weren't good. I agree with you there. It was when Disney really dipped its toe.
I mean, it had to have been after the first Pirates. Was it before the rest of the Pirates? Because the first Pirates came out... here's my trivia quiz. When do you think it came out? I'm thinking 2005. I was gonna say 2008, but then it occurred to me that's the year.
I was gonna say 2003.
Hang on.
I think it was 2003.
Now I might be.
You know what? I'm thinking it's actually 2002.
I'm gonna 2005.
I'm fairly confident.
And now I'm worried. Was the first? No, the first Batman was 2005. Dark Knight was 2008. I know that. I feel like I'm pretty confident about that. So that's why I think it was earlier than 2008. I was going to say that. But did they come out the same year? Was Batman Begins and Pirates the same year? They might have even been. Pirates of the Caribbean. We're probably going to meet in the middle. It's going to be 2004. But I'm sticking with 2005. Are you saying 2 or 3? Because if it meets in the middle, we'll be tied. You have to say it quick before I see it.
2.
Ooh, you're playing the risky game. Your internet is also playing risky and won't help me. Why is it doing this to me? It's never done this before. Okay, hang on. So remember to crouch. It's because this disconnected, that's why. Was that audible? Probably was.
Well, I made it audible if it wasn't.
Well, then maybe they just thought you would have Tourette's. Very high-functioning Tourette's. I always scream perfectly apt things in the midst of conversations.
You should put more emphasis on a particular word. That would be hilarious, Tourette's.
It ain't connecting. That's gonna suck. This has always worked. Well, I may not be able to look this up. I might have to get my phone out, which will be very slow to look things up with.
I feel like having that equipment when you're sleeping... Take that, with whatever context you may.
I wasn't looking at the screen, so the context is lost. Do you not have equipment when you're sleeping? Does your equipment come off?
Oh my!
Take that however you will.
Meaning, if you are an augment and you have that kind of heavy firepower, if you're taking a rest or
inside, it goes back into
sleeping
his arm,
and you're next to somebody, that may be concerning.
When you're a militant, I'm not sure you have that worry. I don't know that he's sleeping next to anybody that he cares about.
That's probably true.
Your internet's being crap, so I can't look it up. That sucks. Don't use that, please.
Know why it would be doing that.
Well, it could also be this thing being funky, because sometimes passwords reset and whatnot. I can't look it up, so, I mean, I can in a second. Now it's my turn and I can't get my phone out, but...
No, I don't
Or actually, I'll bet I might be able to fix this before my turn even loads, because I bet you what happened is, sometimes it doesn't. It tries to connect to the last place it was because it's not a data thing.
Oh.
So it sometimes goes, this is the last place we had internet, and I don't see it anymore. And it's like convinced that it should still be there.
Well, that's like the whole...
that fixed it.
I've had this argument actually with quite a few employers that I've had about variable versus static IP, because the whole variable IP, there sometimes the computer goes, oh, I missed it. It ran off without me. It's like, well, okay, can you find it?
Well, that's how we skip. We're going to have to get used to
Whereas
doing
with
that.
the static IP, it's just like, oh, it's right there, okay. So he's still there.
In your noodle. Shoot your noodle pants. I should just be able to shoot
Do you actually know what that theme song is from? Ooh,
yeah, I mean,
trivia.
like, I know that it was a thing from my childhood. I now don't know the name of the show, though.
PB&J Otter.
Oh, then I didn't. I thought it was that... Why did I feel like it was that one where they had the cardboard fort?
Is that Out of the Box?
Yes.
Out of the Box.
Was it not part of that?
Nope.
Well, I thought it was.
Same era, but I mean... I will say this. PB&J Otter, when it comes to theme songs, went hard when it comes to harmony.
Ammunitions case gives me the stuff. I forgot that pausing doesn't pause. Dang it, he was approaching me that whole time. He missed his opportunity, though. I, however, will not miss.
He's
okay, except I was going to miss. Why did it freeze so bad? Hey, mate. Can you come in here for a second? I'm going to blow your nads off. He took that way too well. He wasn't detached to his nads. His nads probably are detachable.
Ooh. That was my only reaction.
Ooh. Well, I mean, it depends on how, would you bother to reconstruct if it was like if you were if the part of you lost.
I assure you, I would have reconstructed.
I would feel like a fake. I would feel phony. Like if you got...
I'd have some fun with it. You better believe I'd be
okay,
put a torpedo right there. I don't care.
Okay, so perhaps we'll move on.
I'm just saying.
I wasn't intending to broach the augmented option.
Two grenades and a torpedo. That'd be kind of like...
Well, then you're certainly not sleeping next to anybody. Ain't no one gonna...
Don't sleep so close to me.
No one's gonna agree to that. Are you just... Oh, I thought you were going in.
I don't know. Make it interesting.
Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm going back to that.
Any further.
I'm going back to the Pirates of the Caribbean now that the internet's working. All right, what does it say?
2002. Same thing.
I don't think it is.
I swear it was 2002.
I don't think it was that early.
I swear. For some reason in my head,
I'm thinking
that's what
2005, but I'm probably...
You
2004
could be
is
right.
my couch. 2003, so you were closer than 2005.
I was torn.
You would have been right on it
or
if you had gotten
yeah.
it. That feels so much
That
earlier.
was a very obvious statement.
What?
You would have been right on it if you got it.
I'm saying you were. You said 2003 and then went to 2002 to distance from my guess so that we'd break the tie. But, huh.
Anyway.
Why do I feel like I remember when that came out then? I mean, I would have...
You would have been... What?
Would I have been... I would have been like 5-ish?
I was... Yeah.
I don't know that I would have remembered it then.
Okay.
I don't know that I would have remembered... Maybe I just... I mean, I certainly remember the first time I saw it, but that probably wasn't after it came out because we were not a...
Well, that actually
early adopter
better than I
household.
thought.
Well, then let me redeem myself. Did Batman Begins come out in 2005? Batman Behind. That's a different movie.
That's a parody movie.
Oh, but
We're not going to talk about that one.
that did come out in 2005.
What, Batman Behind?
Yes. It was followed up by Bat Metal. Anyways,
I'm a freaking bat. That's
you have anything else to add?
Other than torpedoes?
You have anything else to add to your augmented socket?
What if it was like...
I don't want to imagine anything else.
Let's do something different outside of like that particular unit. Like,
well, what else?
I don't know. If you had a hand, to me, an interesting augment would be like almost like a hook concept where you could like just take off various ones and put on other ones.
Swiss Army hand.
Yeah, I mean...
Well, it'd basically just be like the guy from Inspector Gadget. No, he just actually had the claw. I was thinking of actual Inspector Gadget. Because the guy... I was thinking the villain from Inspector Gadget, but he just had the claw for his hand. He didn't have stuff in it. Inspector Gadget had the stuff. I mean, if you could. But, like, what kind of stuff? You've only got 5 fingers. Would you...
Well, no, I'm talking about, like, okay, like, this is my opera hand, and then I take it off and I put on
so you're talking, like, attachable stuff.
Yeah.
So that is a very hooky. I was thinking more like stuff actually built into it.
Well, that would be cool, too.
I mean, basically, people with prosthetics kind of already have that.
We're getting into something that we might as well unpack. Because if you had 5 fingers and you had
if you don't, then you might want to get that checked.
5 fingers that you could put random things on, what would it be? Like, would you put, like, I would feel like a knife maybe on one.
Well, I wouldn't make them each the thing. I would have them be built in, not like
right. But I'm
one
saying,
finger
like, what
just
would
is
you?
a knife.
Well, sure, I know that. I'm not like talking like Edward Scissorhands.
Well, you suggested like one of my fingers would be a knife and the other finger would be a. Oh boy!
Like a guy
I'm going to
with
throw the grenade.
A big toothbrush as a middle finger.
Well,
like I'm just saying, what would you put on it?
I don't know. I feel like I would go old school and just have it be a hand. Like, I don't know that I'm creative. I would probably... There's people who do the prosthetic... Like, people who have prosthetics who then, like, decorate them in weird ways. Not weird ways, I don't know. But I mean in, like, abstract...
or even...
It's like I've had, like, people who have, like, you know, carved... They'll have it, like, carved out of, you know, wood, and it'll be, like, all elaborate. And I'm like...
Right.
I would probably do just more stuff like that was, like, fancy. I don't know that I would... try to do anything practical.
The reason I was getting at that is more...
Because I feel like that's just a recipe for
we've talked
disaster.
about maybe unpacking our EDCs. I thought that would be an interesting...
That was your segue, huh?
Segue, yeah. That was my segue, and you didn't ride my segue.
It was one of those... one of the modern segues that's... what do they call them? Not the one wheel, the other one.
The
hoverboard. I hate that they called it that because it was so dishonest.
I was really disappointed.
The one wheel is like, it's one wheel and it's clever and it's a new form. Like nothing else actually. I mean, it's similar to the Segway in that it goes where you lean it. But I feel like it makes more sense than the Segway because you lean in the direction you would.
Terribly disappointed because everybody was thinking Marty McFly.
Well, not when they. I mean, the name, sure. I don't think they were thinking it when they saw it because you went.
Well,
it has wheels. It touches the ground.
It sucks. It's not a hoverboard at all.
It blows up at random intervals.
Well, what's the comedian that talks about the fact that
cover?
It literally.
My neck. Well, firing into walls is an unorthodox strategy. Firing without looking is a similar unorthodox strategy. Crouching across the floor is a definitely unique.
Okay.
You're gonna beat him with your unorthodox tactics. He won't know what to make of you.
Like Ahsoka.
Okay. Sure.
No, I don't know. I would feel like I would want.
Well,
some sort of uniqueness.
You brought the Segway on. Make it crowbar that Segway.
Just unbox that.
Get the mallet out and really force it. Hammer it home.
So anyway, we were unpacking that simply
you're
because...
unpacking that, so go. Don't draw me into this. I'm not coming in until the Segway is ready. To go back to the hook thing, you got to get the red carpet going for me.
Okay.
I won't step on it until it's ready.
So I'm Smee then, huh?
Well, in that movie...
Mustn't annoy him.
Okay, you're going Peter Pan or Hook? Because I was going
I
Hook.
Go either way.
And in the Hook movie, Smee's not nearly as... Smee would be a respectable character. He's definitely he's a bit of a goof, but he's less of a bumbler.
That's true.
That could also tie in, because I actually read Peter Pan, like the actual book recently, but we'll come back to that, I guess.
So both of us pack actual bags around rather than doing just the whole single wallet situation.
I hate stuff in my pocket.
Yeah, that's ultimately why I made the transition. But to my bag, of course, not any sort of other
I was
transition.
wondering about it. You've been talking
transition.
Yeah, you've been talking about, stuff you'd augment, so I wasn't sure.
But when I made the transition specifically
would you have the classic shark mouth painted on the side of it?
Wow.
Or would that be too on the nose? You could have a nose. Okay, I think we're done now. Get behind cover, you fool! Why do you not do it right? Take a box!
You know, obviously my EDC kind of everyday thing expanded as I first started using that bag, and so I was curious how our EDCs maybe were similar and different in that. I mean, I think there are certain things that are standard no matter what, no matter who you are. It's like certain things I feel like should go across the board, but at the same time I have a bit of a like a businessman may not have the same EDCs as
and if you're wearing a suit, then you can't have pockets full of stuff and
right. So I don't know. I mean, I typically like my absolute standard must be with me.
Well, everyone's got like the same basic absolute knife, standard.
I do have a hanky. I have some your keys. I feel like keys and wallet,
phone is the classic three that everyone has, even if they don't know about it.
Yeah, and then
just because those are the things everyone needs in daily life.
And then outside of that, I do have like several notepads. One that's a little more elaborate for more like specific notes, and then others that are more just chicken scratch kind of notes.
Yeah, I've been going through a metamorphosis.
Okay.
Also, I've been changing my EDC. Thank you for not commenting on my. What? I was trying to think of some random like insect word, but none of them.
Thorax.
None of them were palatable. You could skip this. I think it's press start because we're gonna see it lots of times. I promise. Because I found there's this British guy. I'm not sure I'm remembering the name of the channel correctly, but I think the guy's name it's John Gadget. I don't believe that's his real name.
Can I do anything with?
No, I think you have to avoid that happening at all. Now he does give you this little chance where he basically aims and then goes, "Get moving." Wow, and then he just okay. Well, yeah, I told you to get away.
Well, I mean,
okay. So second punch does it.
So he drops you with the second one.
So he's this British guy who does a bunch of EDC review stuff, and his strategy is interesting because he has basically everyone knows. I mean, everyone who actually is into the EDC thing is familiar with the whole pouch with a bunch of buckles and sleeves and stuff for it. And I've never been fond of them just because I'm like, if I need something, I don't want to have to pull it out and then get. And that's because I've always carried the bag that I'm like, I would rather just have it be in the pockets of the bag because usually I have the
your bag's unique
semi-tactical bags that actually have sleeves and pockets already. But then, seeing the way he did it, I'm like, if you were to break it down, because even my bag's fairly complicated in terms of the random crap it's got hanging all over it. And I'm like, if you broke it down into subcategories of the way he does it, where he has like, okay, this is like the traveling toiletry bag. It stays separate because chances are when I'm getting this out, I'm going to need all of it. So it doesn't have to be like, I need to be able to reach everything independently. Because then you'd have to have a bag, you'd basically be carrying around a duffel bag with 50 pockets. Yeah. And that wouldn't actually help you very much. The problem is, the reason I hated this fight, even back when I first played it, is just the fact that he toddles slowly around, never stopping. And every time you have to run from pillar to pillar, you'll be out in the open, and you can't jump from pillar to pillar as fast as he can toddle.
Which doesn't make sense, A, and B, how does he have an unlimited supply of ammo?
That was his downstairs augmentation. Just two Tommy cans.
Tommy cans.
And then it's got an extended 10-rounder in the middle. Okay, don't picture that.
Talk about having the brass.
It gives a whole new definition, actually. He rattles when he walks. Okay, I think we're dipping below the line. We're hitting
below the waist.
Below the belt, as it were. But I started to think about that because I realized I should
meaning like more parts, like where you can actually take out
more
various
compartments. Because I have, the way mine is now, basically all of the pockets that are immediately accessible are filled with the, like, I need this quickly.
Right.
It's got the knife, it's got the multi-tool, it's got the wallet, and it's got some pens. I have some basic
Oh, I do
tools.
have a pen. Yeah, quite a few pens.
So, like some basic, like I have a tape measure and a lighter and those kinds of basic things. That
I don't know that I have a tape measure. I have a lighter.
You'll be so surprised at how much the tape measure comes in handy. Literally, I started carrying it because it was back when I was moving. So I started carrying it literally because I was like, you know, if I happen to be at a store and I see something, I want to be like, oh, will this actually fit? Because I was in the middle of that transition where I was thinking about those kinds of things and having to design. Okay, don't let him get... Whoop. He's got that Davy Jones augment. He can phase through things. Oh, he didn't have no patience that time. Just phasing through things gave him energy.
Put me out of my misery.
I told you were going to need a sheet or something, because otherwise you will Velcro to that leather chair. Now
I blame my torpedo.
Gotta get off of that, please. So basically, it's like all of the immediately accessible pockets are full up, and then the middle is just the big open cavity, which all bags have, is the center pocket, and that's why, as much as I've heard some people some ladies try to be like, oh, you know, guys discovering EDC think the purse hasn't been around, and I'm like, yeah, but the purse is literally just a hole. It's a sack that stuff gets tossed in.
Depending on what purse you carry.
True. I mean, and depending on the woman, of course. It's like if you're an organized person who keeps things tidy, but where are you is the question. Because every purse I've ever held scared me. It was full of, I think...
He's single and wants to see your purse.
You know, they say you can tell a lot about a woman from the contents of her purse. So that's where I go. The big middle pouch, it's like, okay, yes, some bigger things I can put in there. But I would also basically need to have more subdivisions, and that's why I like this guy's strategy.
Which is to have
like he had basically the custom mini EDC pouches that some people carry as their whole EDC, because some of them are pocket size and they just put them in their pockets and whatnot. But he had them organized into, I think one was like he had all of his tech stuff, so like cables, battery. Wow, see, I can't run from pillar to pillar. You know, various cables, various battery extensions, flashlights, and then the toiletry one. And I was like, this makes sense because it allows you to carry more, but you could pack them such that they weren't, you know, taking up a space of something immediately necessary.
I have a bit of parts of my bag are more.
You've got it out. He's examining it. He forgets what's in his own bag.
Parts of my bag are like the tactical kind of approach of like, okay, you know, what are going to be some things that I'll need if I'm ever in like a life or death situation. But
yeah, I need to get a first aid kit going.
I do have that. I do also have like less life or death, more just awkward. You want to avoid
tampons and
getting caught with your pants down. Is like a sewing kit. You know, having one of those.
I thought you were going to have some kind of fold tight belt.
Okay.
Caught with your pants down. I don't know that sewing is going to help you with that. Very few pants have buttons these days.
Ripping or some sort of.
Well, I suppose. Do you even know how to? No offense. Do you even know how to sew?
Yes.
I'm not saying that as a criticism of you. I'm not sure I would know what to do with a sewing kit that I'd be like, if my pants ripped, I'm not just gonna be like, oh, I'll just have a patch ready. I wouldn't. It would look like I had done it just then.
Well, yeah, but at least it covers your hiney.
Yeah, but see, that's where I'd be like, if it was a rip in because if it's a rip somewhere on your knees or stuff, no one's gonna care.
Yeah,
if it's a rip in the upper sections, I'd be like, okay, I'll just as soon put a piece of duct tape over it, and people will be like, it'll be equally as obvious and less inept looking. Okay, you aren't familiar with the concept of cover, it seems like. You do actually have to hold that button, otherwise the cover is just hypothetical. Hang around the death, man. Pockets full of brass. Anyways.
Okay,
yeah,
you found me.
He plays, he knows how to play Ring Around the Rosie, man. He's a vet. Alright, let's try to make some actual progress happen.
So, I don't know. I have that. I have other spots that are more for like my own leisure activities. There's like a couple books.
I'm not as much of the a lot of people are like super survivalist
I don't.
Where it's like if I was dumped out of a plane with this, I could survive for 3 weeks.
Well, see, that's different. To me, an EDC is different than your bob. I do have a bob, like the bug bag.
But some people.
They almost like...
Some people try to make like it a hybrid where it's like...
No, that doesn't work to me. It's
like, oh, if I went on a hike, I would bring this and it would have everything. And I'm like, no, if I went on a hike, I would bring hike-appropriate gear. Because those things are so specific that I'm not going to need them in the everyday.
It's a bit of the... Like, to me, if you start getting into the tactical like arena where you're going... I could get into the woods and then I could live out there for 2 weeks if I just had my EDC bag. It's like, okay... I think that you're thinking your Ranger.
Whoa! Okay, he recovered from that much too quickly.
I don't know.
I guess now he doesn't know where I am.
He's got some.
That's true. I forgot. There's ways of distracting him, and I forgot that because like now he doesn't exactly know where I am, so he's gonna start firing and walking around blindly.
But see, that's an absurd amount of ammo. You're telling me.
And now he's going. Now he's doing some kind of weird prostate massage, getting it reloaded. Whoop. Okay, how does he know? How did he know? Maybe he's got... I mean, I guess he's probably got the same mini-map as I do. Whoop. Nope, I ain't looking at that.
I just feel like you end up becoming a little bit weird. It's like the people who put body armor when they go outside. I'm like, no,
well, when you
don't
go outside,
do that.
that's weird. Like...
If you...
I mean, you gotta train with it if you have it. I'm taking all this. I don't even know what it is.
Well, sure, but what I'm saying is, if it's not like if you're wearing it every day, that's weird.
No, yeah. Well, it's like the same thing as people who open carry ARs. It's like, dude, this isn't gonna help you at all.
Right. Can you? Sure. Should you be able to? Sure, but
I'm not suggesting you shouldn't have the right, but I do think it's not gonna help you. That right is not going to serve you. Give it to me.
So anyway,
give me all my stuff. Not enough space.
I do, as a husband, obviously have some things where I just go, well, ibuprofen, those types of things. That actually is for me too, but
that was a strange save, because I don't feel pain as a man.
No, I'm saying, but I mean, I do have pads and things like that, but that's because that comes in handy to go. Oh, I have you covered, rather than having it be a
literally, I suppose. Okay, see, why did he not aim? Why did you not? I mean, I said he knows how the game works. He doesn't seem to quite.
I have a smaller pocket, actually, that's helpful because it carries, some of the more micro-level stuff. I find that most EDC bags tend to have pockets, yes, that are specific, but then you can only get down to, so small. Whereas this particular pocket that I have
that's where I'd say you want a sub-organizer.
Right. I agree, but for instance, I have a couple micro SDs, and I'm like, yeah, I want those in there, but I want to have them safe.
See, that's why having this dedicated tech pouch made sense.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know. This is only I don't know that I have much more to say in the broad here's how I would organize it type thing. One update that I figured would be interested in is I changed the headphones for my EDC headphones.
Yeah, you were carrying those
I used to have a big pair of
cans.
Sony MXRs, which are great, and they're still the best headphones I own. But, they were taking a beating, because I actually had a pair of them for about 2 years that literally, it was so sad to see them by the end. They were, the foam was literally tearing apart. They had cracks and hot glue all over them from times that they had fallen. They were in my bag, but the bag fell, and then they got all... I abused the poor things, and then I actually asked. I liked them so much that they were a Christmas present, and I asked my family. I said, "Can I have another pair of those? Because I still want them." And then I carried them for a while, and I realized this is going to happen to them again. So I decided I'm going to keep those as the nice around the house headphones. And we should shout out to Dank Pods, the Aussie YouTuber who's hilarious.
He is very funny.
Who does a bunch of classic iPod / audiophile content stuff.
He does a lot of reviews. Very knowledgeable. He doesn't come off he's trying to be super heady.
He's not. Yes, he's an audiophile, but he isn't the quintessential audiophile. He genuinely enjoys sharing and not being like, oh, I only do this. It's he's like, no, yeah, give these a try. And he's very, you should check it out. But, okay, you realize that you can hold the cover button that actually will keep you in cover, not just, this game of will the bullets pass through or not. Because I think that's you've set me up for failure. It was hooked on something. So he has a review, and sadly I couldn't find the exact ones because he gives the smackdown to Raycons, which everyone knows about. Because they're everywhere and are annoying.
I actually really never understood why that brand was popularized. Because
I understood
they're great at marketing.
I understood why they were popular if what they said was true.
Yeah,
we were going, pocketable but quality. Because their whole thing was, it's a direct to consumer type thing, so they can save costs, which ended up being false because most of their costs are marketing anyways.
Yeah.
So he had a review of those and then was like, hey, here's a pair of things that are like half the price that I found on Amazon that are actually significantly better. And I was like, well, I'm curious because my other headphones were so big, they took up too much space in the bag, and I was like, if I could go with like a nice AirPod size pouch that they can stay in, I could tuck them back with all the other tech stuff because I do have a sort of tech pocket. It's like they can stay there, they'll save up a whole bunch of space, and I will just feel they'll be more convenient for walking around.
I'm curious, though, why you didn't go with something like... Because I know you ended up going with, like, a wired...
I have a backup pair of wired, because that's the one thing the Sonys do that I think is still highly necessary, is they do actually have a cable on them for when the battery's dead, you can still use your very nice, expensive headphones. I'm going to blast him with the shotgun while he's out. In your... Oh, wow. I wasted that up. What? Okay, so they're not even pretending. They are not even pretending for a moment. I thought it was a glitch the first time. They can't claim that's a glitch. He's the freaking Terminator. Well, I guess technically he's a T-1000. The Terminator couldn't do that. But before people from the 80s get mad at me. That was absurd.
That was really ridiculous.
So I went. So he found the things he talks about. They're called. It was some brand. The model was called Sound Liberty something.
I
forget what the brand was.
Shoot,
it was.
I had a pair of those. Darn it!
Did you?
Yeah, I thought.
How
they were
did you
fantastic.
get a hold of them? Because I looked when I went to look them up on Amazon, they weren't there. And then I started looking it up other places, and a bunch of people were like, yeah, they got kicked off of Amazon for being a Chinese bootleg company, essentially.
Which is not totally true, but it's sure.
They are Chinese, and they're probably... And, I mean, yeah. I think they were... The fact that a bunch of other similar things popped up on Amazon once they went off was like, okay, clearly this is like, these all come from one place, and a bunch of brands just distribute them.
Right.
So I went around, I was like, okay, well, what was similar to that? And so a bunch of people said, basically one of the equivalents is called Sound Pete, is the brand. And I actually forget the name of mine. It's a numeric thing. But I looked those up, and they're only like 40, probably like $50 with tax. And they sound pretty dang great. It's interesting because of the fact that I came from the big, nice headphones. When I first put them in, I was like, this is a hard sell. Because I had them when they came in the mail. I was actually wearing the other ones, listening to them. I was like, I'll test them now. Which was probably the least favorable circumstance. And then, so you have to hold that down, and that will keep you, okay, but, well, it comes at the expense of being able to shoot. You have to pop out to be able to shoot, but I don't know the ring around the rosy game, because now we know if he gets tired of the ring around the rosy, he'll just say no to it. So...
no ammo.
Well, it would have helped if some of those rounds had gone into him, at least.
Wow.
Your muzzle discipline's a little off. It's a little spray and pray.
Well, I don't disagree with you there, but only because of the fact that he's
just walking towards me menacingly.
No, I don't I don't find that that buds have ever been the problem for me, and because I'm probably more of an audiophile as far as the actual science of it than you are, I would say.
Yeah, well, yes, and even I would go beyond that. I think
good sound
because you have actually done sound mixing, not professionally, but like
Yeah, in a professional context, somewhat.
Yeah.
But
I should have reloaded everything before I went in there. That's what I need to do, is reload stuff so I don't pull another shotgun.
I don't think that buds instantaneously limit you. It's just, and one of the comments you made that I agree with is that you're going to pay more if you're trying to get the same sound in buds.
Dollar for dollar, cans will always outperform because just bigger speakers do better for the same price.
Right.
If you want some really great speakers that are cheap, you're going to have to spend a lot on them.
Right.
Or wait, no. If you want some really great speakers that are small, you'll have to spend a lot on them. I can't do stuff like this because he just gets me. Take the grenade.
Okay.
Now I have to get up in
I
your
actually found
noggin. He does not stay down long enough for that. I only get like 3 shots in
my solo, or the liberties that I had, were really good, but they didn't hold up to the wash when I actually went.
Well, I imagine that would be the case. What were you expecting?
But no, that's what happened to them. They ended up just
blew up my cover.
Doing that. You also have the option of, so for those that actually use in-ear monitors at all.
Well, that's what I went with as a backup.
There are ones that you can buy that are attachments to detachable in-ear monitors that actually are Bluetooth attachments. I
didn't go with those.
And that, to me, I'm like, that's a good option. It's just that it's the whole the cable tie together, not the.
Oh yeah, well I could get over that.
So,
because I ended up buying 2 pairs, and I didn't love having to do this, but I recognize them like, oh, these small ones don't have the same battery, so it's highly probable that if I'm not vigilant about charging them, they'll die on me, and then I won't have a backup, because the other ones, I at least had the cable I could plug in when they died. So then I was like, well, you have already talked about them, and the Dank Pods channel mentions them. The KZ fairly cheap wired earbuds.
Why isn't the...
You have to hold it.
Well, but I did.
You didn't do it to its satisfaction. You can't be that close to him. He's gonna do that every dang time. There's no, option where that doesn't happen. So I bought... So even then, it was, I think, $70 was the total Amazon order, and that was everything. You wasted the grenade.
Well...
That was both of pairs plus tax. So... that's like a third the cost of my nice big ears. And do they sound a third as good? Probably more, I would say. And that's where I go, it's about the balance where I'm like, hey, Krispy Kremes, it's $10 for a dozen. Nothing tops Krispy Kremes, but if I'm in the mood for a donut, I can get a dozen for $3 at, a local grocery store, and that's a third the price, and they're about as third as good.
Yeah.
So it's like, can I be mad that they're not as good when I'm paying significantly less? No, not really. But these, I'd say, you're paying a third and probably getting at least a solid half, if not maybe a little more.
Yeah.
Because what they have that is the benefit, and still surprises me, even though they are obviously, because they're tiny, they don't have rocking bass, naturally. But I was surprised by how well they're very wide. They're not very deep.
The sound stage is really...
Yeah, they're not very deep in the sense that, the bass is audible, but certainly not... Whoa! He pulled the trick on me. I don't... He's impossible to run away from, but he's impossible to be near. They're very wide. They're not very deep in that you can hear the bass. The bass isn't... It's there, but it is not prominent. You can hear a lot of the high-end stuff, but again, it's not super prominent. You kind of have to...
So it's mid-heavy?
Well, naturally, by the nature of those kind of tiny things are always
going to be... I've had ones that are super, high, sibilant.
Well, those are cheap, though, generally, because that's what you don't want. You don't want those in your ear.
Really piercing, just...
Yeah. So it's very balanced and very wide, but of course it feels a little squashed. Which, again, I go...
Yeah, squashed is a good word for it.
The Dank Pods guy, he even talks about, he's like, a lot of people think, oh, you really want heavy bass. And it's like, yeah, it's fun to have big thumping headphones when you're listening to the right kind of music. But if you actually have an appreciation for music as it is recorded and as it is meant to be, there's times when music isn't intended to have great, huge bass. So I've sort of had to appreciate that as I've been listening to stuff where I'm like, you know what, I can hear the bass, so I'm not missing anything. Oh. What did you think that would do? You thought that I'll throw a grenade and be okay?
Well, no, I thought if I threw the grenade, it would stun him enough that I would be able to at least hit him with a shotgun.
They're not impact grenades. So that was, it's made me appreciate, like, actually listening and going, I can hear everything I'm supposed to be hearing. I'm not missing anything. Some things maybe I'd wish were louder in parts because I'm like, oh, this is a cool bass line. I wish I could, like, it was more punchy. But I can still hear it, and so it gives you a sort of appreciation.
I think you actually hit on something, though, because there's a difference between, like, a lot of people, bass heads, like people that really want a lot of bass, like, for instance, why Dr. Dre's are so popular, which I hate. I have a whole pet peeve about that.
Well, watch the Dank Paws video, too, because he's hilarious.
Well, and again, great guy, because he's another audiophile, and he's going, no, these suck. So, sorry if you like Dr. Dre's, but no. But the reality is, a lot of people like beats because they have such bass, but the point is, they sacrifice, part of the way that they do that is they intentionally bend their entire soundstage to that. And it's like, that ends up, you can't listen to like something that you're actually wanting to hear well with that, because you're not getting a true quality sound of it, you're just getting all the really low thumping bass. Whereas, if you get accurate, I suppose is a way of saying it, like accurate sound stage, you get a lot of the lows, but then you also get a lot of the like low, mid, highs, those types of things.
Thought.
And so,
really? You're not gonna give me a reticule? You suck.
My favorite.
I mean, I suppose firing a shotgun or firing a sniper rifle from cover is a bad idea, but still.
My favorite is listening to jazz to kind of test headphones. Well,
because jazz is not bass heavy, but the bass is often complex.
Well, and it should be prevalent enough that you should be able to hear and pick that out. So, same thing I think with like, what's another good like a soundtrack. You know, it's like you want to hear the bass, but you don't want it to be so prevalent that it becomes all-consuming. You got a grenade right next to you.
I moved. So I have to remember this is the real game. Is I have to... Okay, crap. I have to... I don't know where that bounced. Wow, okay. See, he shouldn't have been that on the spot. I'm gonna have to organize another... I think those barrels explode. Oh, that didn't knock him off, because I've got to do something where I can actually stun him like I did the first time, because then when you can get him to not know where you are, he has to wander around and you can line up some decent shots, but that is hard to do because I only have the one grenade. I know the fire extinguishers can be used for that. I thought the explosive barrels could too, but maybe all that did was hurt him. Anyway, yeah, that's what I changed up, and I figured it was
I actually
relevant.
Switched the opposite. I
know you had some big ones, but do you actually carry them around now?
I used to. They right now their Bluetooth is on the fritz for some reason, but at the time, these particular ones that I really found were very good, are far more lightweight, I suppose, as by comparison to the Sonys that you carry. They're a little less
they weren't heavy.
Hardy as far as even build quality, but
the Sonys aren't that hardy given the fact that I had to glue them together.
But I'm just saying they're also far more. It's almost like the difference between, you're not going to break this because it's stone and so it's really hard versus you're not going to break this because it's flexible and it's going to just give. It's a little bit like that, like the flexible ones that I have, and so you can pack them without necessarily having to worry about it a lot. So I like them. I mean,
if I had a decent pair of the Bluetooths that were like the collapsible kind, I might have gone with that. But even then, I think going ultra small has freed up a bunch of space that I like.
That is true. The space you cannot deny.
Because I carry now. I mean, usually I've got similar to the notebook thing where it's like I actually really like the Japanese travel notebook. It was popularized a while back by a bunch of YouTube vloggers. Because it's a good... I mean, as much as I know it got, perhaps a little overplayed, you missed it. You can't... Okay.
He was not even aiming in my direction.
Appreciate the realism of this in that a firefight does not mean while firing, I just...
Hello? I'm not saying that. I'm saying he was literally looking at the opposite side of the pole.
Well, and then when you popped out, he went, oh, you're on the outside.
After I was putting several caps in his
but
head.
As you've already noticed, I've shot him like 8 times. It's going to take more than that. He's a boss.
Well, still.
I mean, literally, in the sense of a video game boss. As far as his actual personality, I'm not sure. Seems a bit twatish.
Second fiddle.
So that's, yeah. I carry that because it's. I like that it has the modular aspect where you can fit, similar to what you're talking about. It actually has basically one binding for several insertable notebook
You're right.
sheaths.
And I feel like that strategy's been adopted by quite a few other notebook types.
Well, yeah, I think they're often based on this one, which is
that
cool.
may be true.
But I usually also carry whatever book is current.
Right.
And sometimes that means I've got to have a lot of space for it. So yeah, that's why I think I should have done it before now, because now I'm gonna be a doofus. So is he, apparently.
The one thing I actually really like about my bag is it's got one pocket that's in the front that's
Okay.
primarily, I use primarily for literally I access this at almost every hour. And versus stuff in my bag that's in the center pocket that has 2 different or 3 different pouches, this is the stuff I hardly touch,
Dang it!
Oh.
Okay, I still got him. He stopped before it, and I was like, is he actually going to be like, I see that? So I can only get one off on that, which is really stupid. And then I have to hide while he's sort of fritzing out. So what else can I know that some of the other things I can use to stun him like that are... Excuse you. How does he... Did you see me flipping around, maybe? Okay, well, this didn't work nearly as well. You were supposed to... I know that you can use fire extinguishers, so I'm going to have to somehow... but see, he just turns around instantly.
Notice how you could use his own grenades against him? Maybe that will be more...
I don't think I can pick those up. I think that's just a warning that indicates...
maybe... I'm thinking...
Whoa, energy packs. That's helpful.
I'm thinking...
Whoa, stay away,
Call of Duty.
stay away!
Anyway, I thought that was... well, and again, so... Slightly changing subjects, but still on the same related thing. I was talking about it depends on the type of person, what your EDC, is going to be. For a blue collar person, it may be significantly different than a white collar.
Even then, I think there's some people who take it where it's like, and not to say that this is the wrong approach, but some people make it like it's also a work bag. Because I see some people who carry full sets of tools, and I'm like, this isn't your everyday life carry. This is, I go to work and I need these tools. At which point I'm like, I would be the kind of person who would say, I have my personal belongings that are separate. And if I have tools that I need for my work, I will just have my work toolbox that goes with me. Some people I find where it's like, oh, I'm a mechanic. Here's my everyday carry. And I'm like, well, okay. Do you use the socket set outside of your mechanic work? You hit the pole with the...
I know.
You just frizzed your own brain. I knew this was going to suck.
But, anyway, I actually had a thought recently because I...
Actually had a thought?
Wow.
Whoa. Yeah, your words, not mine.
Recently,
I
have changed over career paths, which is just kind of a development that happened within the last couple months, and have shifted from more of kind of a humanities, I would argue, not necessarily white collar, but definitely a...
It's hard to know where the line
exists. I don't know where it would be there. But
I'm gonna do this and reload everything now.
A straight up blue collar job, like I do roofing now, and so I was actually curious. My thoughts on, now that I've kind of experienced both sides of the fence, because I've done actual white collar, diamond sales, weird, you're suiting up every day kind of a thing, and also now in this particular field, you're very much in the blue collar, get out there, put your your construction belt on and just get it done. And I have found that my perspective, I think, has not necessarily shifted as much as it's been broadened, but I thought we might touch on the idea of what types of jobs are more valuable by objective comparison, I suppose.
I'm not gonna get into that debate.
Well, I'm
not gonna play the essential worker card. He's blowing up.
I'm not talking essential worker. I'm saying
but you are. But you're just
No.
you're just trying to challenge what is currently holding those positions.
No, I don't think you're understanding which angle I'm going.
By the very nature of ranking their value, that's
My point
exactly
is,
what that is.
I'm realizing that blue collar, while it doesn't get the same prestige, maybe that it ought, in my opinion, is far more fundamental, if you want to call it that,
I can get him
to everyday life.
He's breaking.
So I'm not talking like essentials, like you're an
extinguishers.
essential worker and all this, kind of COVID nonsense.
Okay, come on, step near the
I'm
barrel, bro.
talking when push comes to shove and the economy's bad or whatever else, who are the people that actually get things moving or get things done? And I would argue that it's probably the industries of standard basic everyday living.
Cover where cover makes sense, you doofus. I was talking to you, not him.
Versus like a more luxury job.
Oh, come on.
And I just found that it occurred to me that the white collar jobs have a lot more like respectability of prestige or whatever you want to call it, where I feel like blue collar jobs ought to really have that respect.
Well, so you've been watching Dave or Mike Rowe, is what you're saying.
Well, certainly he echoes the same sentiment, but I was curious what your thoughts on.
You're saying
that
he
were.
echoes you.
No,
is that what you're saying?
My point is he has the same perspectives, but
yeah,
I don't.
People do.
But again, I say I don't know that my perspectives have shifted. They've just certainly broadened and become more understood.
I would reload before you go in there because it helps.
Okay.
Like reload everything, so that when you switch to it, it's reloaded. Because the shotgun's going to be the thing that comes in clutch at times, and it is not a fast reloader. Oh,
I don't know that I.
You have to. Yeah, that's how. I wish we had more than one grenade, but we could probably find some. No, it's not. It's X. You could probably find some grenades in there, and we ought to do that because we're low on everything, so we're going to need it. But, whew. Okay. I mean, those are the big two. I don't know that the pistols only has 2 bullets anyway, so. Ooh! Ow.
Anyway, I just thought, to me, it's a worthwhile discussion to say, why is it, I suppose, that we haven't made that adjustment in our society? You'd think that
because we are a stupid people.
Well, that is certainly true.
That's the crux of it. We actually don't know what's good for us. If we did, we'd have had it a long time ago.
Well, I think I'd like to, I suppose, piggyback off of something that... so I watch a YouTube channel called Andy's Little Homestead.
Great, get out of here!
It's a great channel if you are interested in kind of.
He's gonna blow up the fire extinguisher again.
This is so stupid. I hate the. I can't fire while I'm in cover. It doesn't work for me.
Well, you've
like
got
I've literally
got an ailment.
I sit there pulling the trigger and it just sits there going.
Well, depending on that angle where you weren't far enough to the corner of the thing, so you're trying to. I mean, yes, you would naturally be able to do that if you were a person, but the code can't quite grasp that.
Well, I think that's the thing I'm struggling to understand.
Well, it's an older game. Give it a chance.
He talks about Andy's Little Homestead. It's a great YouTube channel. If you haven't checked it out, I would definitely look at it.
In fact, I mean, it was a long time ago.
He made the comment at one point that the first thing you need to do if you're talking about going off grid or talking about like living in kind of homestead lifestyle is get a blue collar job or at least understand a trade is what he calls it. He said, like, basically make yourself useful and valuable in a trade.
Well, that's the crux of it, even no matter what you're doing.
Well, but I'm saying
that's even the EDC. That's even an EDC ideology. Just goes, you want to be someone who's like, oh, I have the thing that's needed for that. I am a person who could be called upon to aid.
Right.
In a number of situations. I want to avoid that.
But I don't
avoid the fire extinguishers because I need to preserve
Yes, here's
them.
my point. White collar is what we want. It's not what we need. Does that make sense? Like,
I mean, it depends on who you are.
I don't
sometimes,
know that I could call on white collar for the when the bottom falls out on the economy.
Okay.
That was
he threw those grenades in the opposite freaking direction. He sank like 6 rounds in his noggin.
When the bottom falls out on the economy, the trades are going to be the actual commodity, whereas the white collar
but then
will be,
also so will stuff no one actually wants.
Like what?
Like the basic foods people don't want to eat, but the things that actually are sustainable and grow. And
right. But that's my point. Like farming. For
again,
instance,
I say
trade.
we don't actually know what we want. We just live off of.
Well, we don't know what we need.
Excess.
We know what we want. We just don't know what we need.
Well, yes. I mean, theoretically, what we want should be what we need. But again, we are stupid.
So, anyway, I just thought you'd have some thoughts on that. Because I know you at least have had these...
Well, I appreciate the competence argument. Just like, if you be of use, even to yourself... It's not always about like, oh, I want to come to rescue someone else in their crisis. It's like, no, sometimes it's nice to just not have a crisis.
Well, right.
To go, oh, yeah, this thing came up, but I have this with me, so I can deal with it. Or I know how to do this, therefore I can fix that, or whatever.
I
think that's also a part of a consumerist ideology that you just go, well, I can just pay for it or buy it or have someone else do it.
Yes, that's true. I mean, the fact that some people don't even know where eggs come from kind of freaks me out. It's like they come from the store, but it's like, no, they freaking don't.
Well, again, stupid people always will exist.
Well.
Ooh, are we ever going to get back to Peter Pan?
Anyway. Stupid people.
That was... Okay. It didn't have to be that truncated.
Okay. See, what kind of physics?
You have
Who
to stand.
shoots a gun
You
that
have
way?
to stand up. You can't just. You realize you can crouch and peek. This game has that option.
No, but it's
so
very...
you crouch, and then if you fire while crouching, it will fire blindly. But you can also crouch and then peek to shoot. By
doing what?
With this.
But
as long as you're holding this will not move your body. It will just move your head.
Anyway, I think that my perspective has been broadened in that the minute I was in this industry, I go, well, now I feel like I can actually contribute something if there was really a significant, situation that the economy all of a sudden collapsed. Whereas, working before in white collar...
Is that how you think it works?
Well, but I'm saying...
I think the slope has begun.
In white collar, like sales and stuff like that, I go, would you like to buy a diamond? Well, I know no one has money right now.
There's a certain degree of transferability in that aspect, not in that specific context, but those kinds of soft skills, as they sometimes call them.
Which?
Well, like dealing with people, be the sort of customer service mentalities. Like
sure, but I mean...
Communication skills, these are things that aren't strictly trade related, but are useful in a variety of life circumstances.
But can you get paid for it? That's the question.
Well, would you get paid for it in the apocalypse? Probably not. Would you be a useful member of someone else's team in the apocalypse? Still probably.
So your argument would be that it's still not completely...
How do I pick it up and chuck it out his face? It worked. I will unload a clip into your noodle, and then your head next. Wow, that worked really... I mean, other than the fact that I am wounded. Okay, he literally threw those in the opposite direction, so they're just playing... They're playing fast and loose with the physics. He's not looking. Make him bounce right behind him. You have to watch the grenades as they bounce to make sure they don't creep up on you. It's like living in Harlem.
So, anyway, living in what?
Harlem? You ruined it by not getting...
What did you say?
I said it's like living in Harlem. That was funny. And I
didn't hear you the first time. I was like, what?
That's a good one.
That is right.